Y'all know what it is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Eggs. So today we have a super special guest, and that's me and Mike. We decided to do a little touch base and get together. You know, for anybody who follows this show or has for any amount of time, you realize we do a lot of interviews on this show. But every so often we like to just sort of check in with one another. And we had a little time because of a rescheduling thing today. So we decided, hey, let's catch up and let's see how everybody's doing.
So yeah, Mike, and in all reality, Ryan's taking vacation next week, so we just want to get a filler show in.
Ooh, pulling the curtain back. Look at that. No, it's true. So I am leaving town. It's we're coming up on spring break. I guess half the country was out already, and then the other half is out when we are, something like that. So we're heading out of town. We're going down to sunny Phoenix, Arizona, and Tucson, Arizona, which will be just lovely. At last check, the weather said it was something like 90 plus degrees, 95 degrees or something. It's been actually pretty warm here in Utah. We were in the 70s last week, but we're back down to like 50s and 60s this week. So 90 degrees in summer is going to be welcome for me.
Yeah. My parents are actually down there right now. And funny story, they bought a house down there, and their first time going down to visit it and check it out. Well, it's not really funny, I guess, but
well, how does that work? So did they buy it online or something?
No, my dad was down there visiting my he's technically my cousin, but he's old enough to be my uncle, same age as my dad, so they're like best friends. But he was down there visiting and saw a for sale sign, and it's it's a mobile home, but it's in a park that doesn't have like a monthly fee. You pay once a year. It's like $1,000 a year.
Oh wow.
And it's they own the house outright. So he bought it and was like, well, now we have a place to snowbird to. And they're on their way down there, and gas prices are high and all that fun stuff. And they get down like to St. George and stop to get gas, and my mom gets out of the car and trips over a curb and breaks her ribs.
Oh no.
So on the way down to
go relax.
And
she lay in a bed with her ribs wrapped up.
Yeah. So my dad's out having the time of his life with my cousin, and she's tied up with broken ribs. So it's not the best.
Yeah, and that's the worst.
Ever.
I know people with broken ribs, and that's like not a party from what I understand.
And they can't do anything. They just like, here you go, deal with it.
Yep, enjoy suffering. Well, and it's too bad. I mean, if you had to have an accident at all, it's unfortunate that gas station isn't paying for this house and that trip and everything else.
I know.
She needs to be more clever about her falls and trips.
They're too honest to do stuff like that. They're saints. They would never. the attendant could have pushed her over the curb, and they'd be like, "Yeah, it's okay."
Yeah, he probably didn't mean anything by it. Well, that's cool. Yeah, no, actually, it's funny because we were talking about the gas prices too, right? We have looked at every option. You know, should we fly to Arizona? Should we drive to Arizona? So from Salt Lake, I want to say it's about maybe 12-hour drive, something like that, to Phoenix. Maybe 10 to Phoenix, 12 to Tucson, something like that. And so, I mean, it's a haul. And so we were trying to figure out gas, and we had grand aspirations because there's 7 of us going. So there's our family and then my in-laws. And so we had grand aspirations of renting like a Suburban or something, because we've got a 7-seater SUV, but it's like 7 pretty liberally speaking. Like, I mean, there's no, it's pretty cozy for 7. And
it doesn't matter. You're in the front, so
yeah. For me, it's all good. It's all those other suckers. But so we were pricing out a Suburban, and I want to say it was something like $1,600 to rent the truck for. I mean, it's 7 or 8 days, and so I mean, I don't know. It was kind of expensive, but then we were factoring in too. 33-gallon tank times $5 a gallon. I mean, you're dropping 150, 160 bucks every time you fill up. And, in a 12-hour drive, we probably got to fill up 2 or 3 times at least. And, not to mention just driving around in Tucson and everything else. And so we decided, hey, we already own a car. We already have a 7-seater. So let's see if we can make it work in our car, which gets a little better gas mileage and all that stuff, but it is going to be a cozy fit. And that was the thing, is we just decided to do away with the rental, because it is so much money. Like we figured, with gas and the car, we'd be into it $2,600 or something, maybe a little more even. And it's like, we could do an awful lot of fun stuff with the kids for $2,600. So I'm like, why pay so much money just for the modality of getting to where we're going? Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I hate that we even have to factor it in. What a stupid thing. And gas prices are always high in the summer, but it's crazy.
Well, so my wedding season's about to start, and it's a 12, 13-hour drive to get to where I do weddings. And normally I would commute back and forth. I had the Volkswagen, I'd get 55 miles a gallon, and I'd just take the truck down there once and commute back and forth with the Volkswagen. But since the used car market was taking off, I sold the Volkswagen, made a pretty penny on it, and now I just have the truck. And so I'm looking at renting apartments, because it would be cheaper to rent an apartment for 3 months than it would be to commute back and forth.
Yeah, so. No, just do like a 3-month Airbnb or something, right? Because you can probably find something like that up in Chelan. Probably get something on the river or something. It'd be lovely.
It'd be lovely, but it'd be more expensive than commuting. So I'm just looking for a cheap apartment, or heck, I got a trailer. If I can find a lot that I can just park my trailer on, I'll live in that thing, because I'm that cheap.
Well, maybe you could work something out with the venue. Maybe they've got a spot on the side of the building or something, because are all your weddings.
Don't mind me, I'm just crashing.
Don't mind me, I live here too. Well, maybe you ought to get a part-time job there while you're there for the summer. You wait tables during the day, you do the weddings at night.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. But yeah, no, I get it, man. Because that is, it's been a big part of, sort of thoughts about travel and things like that, is having to decide, is it worth spending, X number of dollars in gas to go? And, actually it's surprising that airfare isn't more expensive than it is, just given the cost.
Oh, dude, I was looking at a flight to where it was Canada, like Calgary or something like that. And just jumping on TripAdvisor or wherever, to trying to find a flight. I was like, hell no. I was going to go for fun, but I'm not going to drop that kind of money just to go for fun.
Yeah, it's not that much fun once you get there and don't have any money to do anything.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, no, I get that. Well, yeah, no, because so I apparently had never told you, but we do have a Spanish intern living with us again, and a kid named Ander from the Basque Country, and he's every time we've had a Spanish intern in the past, people who've been listening to the show for years have met a couple of them along the way. We always try and do a little extra traveling, right? We try and get around and show them places around the country, and we're going to try and do some of that. But, like he wants to go to Los Angeles, he wants to go to Seattle, he wants to go to all these places. Unfortunately, most of them are Armageddon right now, or apocalyptic anyway. And then if you do go, the costs to get there are very high. It used to be, $150 or something to fly there from here. And now, you're looking $200 or $300 at least. And so the flight's expensive, the drive's expensive, the stay's expensive, like everything is through the roof. And then besides that, you have to bunk up with homeless dudes in LA. You have to dodge gunfire.
Yo, can I jump in your tent here?
Yeah, it's just, it's just a bad time for all that travel and everything. And so, I'm grateful that we decided to do something for spring break, because we haven't gone anywhere really. I was up in Oregon a couple of weeks ago, taking care of my dad. And, you look at the city and, it bums me out, especially with Portland, because, it's one of those cities that's sort of near and dear to my heart. And I used to love Portland a lot. And it's so run down and so just destroyed right now that it's like, hopefully they're on the mend and hopefully they can recover. But yeah, it's just like, it's homeless people stacked to the freeways, like literally along the freeways.
Yeah,
I can't even believe how bad it is, and Portland's always had like a little bit of that, but it's pretty wild.
Well, Seattle's kind of the same boat. I think I was showing you a few weeks ago, a tree house that someone built on the side of the freeway. It was like, it was a legit tree house that you had to climb up a ladder to get into, and you could pull the ladder up behind it.
That's a great idea. Whether you're dodging cops or other homeless dudes, like that's a great idea.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's pretty wild though. But it's just sad to see these cities, and unfortunately, that's part of the problem right now. It's so weird too. It all has to do, I think, with where you go. So I was just talking to a guy the other day who had just been in California, and he was talking about it and going, "Oh my God, it's so nice. They've cleaned it all up. It looks so great." And then I talked to other people that are in other parts of the city, and they're just like, "Oh my God, it's never been so bad." Like so it's like, I don't know who to believe, and I guess maybe you shouldn't let that stuff keep you from going somewhere, but it's also just a tricky time with all the sort of the remainder of the COVID regulations that are out there and just not knowing what to expect when you get anywhere. Like, I don't know. It's just a challenging time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what can you do? I'm kind of to the point where I'm just going to live my life and do what I do. And,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that ultimately, I mean, everybody I see, that seems to be kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, obviously I'm going to be a little more frugal with everything that's going on. I started saving a lot more money instead of just blowing. Like usually this time of year, I've got my shopping cart filled up with DJ equipment that I want for this summer. And I haven't done that this year. I'm going to try and make do with what I have. And the one thing that I'm kind of thinking I'm going to pull the trigger on is a new laptop.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I've been in the market for that too. And unfortunately, I guess, for you need a laptop specifically. I would like a laptop, but I've been looking lately. They just dropped that new Mac Studio.
I know.
You can spec that thing up pretty darn good for like a reasonable amount of money.
Yeah.
And so I've been thinking about doing that here at the home office because I could get, just 100 times, 100x the computer that I'm presently using for, 2 or 3, $2,500, $2,800.
Yeah. Don't get the display because I've heard bad things about it.
Well, and Apple has always been, when it comes to displays, they've always been like grossly overpriced. I don't totally understand why. Because it's basically the same technology, they're nice and they're good quality and they're all those things, right? I quite literally, just threw away, or I couldn't throw it away. I couldn't bring myself to do it, but I've stopped using my old Mac cinema display, my 30-inch cinema display, because for $140, I could get 3 times the resolution on a widescreen from Costco. And so, but I used that thing forever because, it's in a beautiful aluminum enclosure. It feels like a high quality piece of thing. And at the time I bought it, it was $3,000.
Yeah.
And so, which is nut city for a monitor. Right. And now, I think, I'm not sure about this newest monitor they just released, but the one they'd released with the Pro stuff was like $5,000 for like a monitor. And I'm like, I don't know, like your pixels better be pretty darn shiny for $5,000. And maybe they are, but my God.
I watched a review on it, and supposedly there's, like the power cord doesn't pull out. It just, how it like you could actually back in the day, you pull it out, wrap it up, put it in the box, you're done. This one's permanently attached to the monitor itself. As far as resolution, there wasn't like, the guy was saying that it's good, but it's not like,
and I think part of it is it's sort of like that, argument for 8K or 10K or whatever else coming down the pipe, right? Of course, it's all an improvement, but like, especially right now, I'm not even, none of the videos we produce, for example, are in even 4K, right? We're at 1080p at best. And honestly, like with these Zoom calls that you and I do for the podcast, these are like 360p. And then we upscale them to 1920.
Yeah, which is like
1080.
We're taking a small file and making it a 6 gig file and then waiting 10 hours to upload it to
Right. But ultimately, what does a 4K display get me? Right. I'm not even producing content at 4K, let alone 8K or whatever else is coming. And so, and a lot of the content on your TV, I think you can get, like I have an Apple TV 4K, but I don't have a 4K TV. Right. So, okay, it's awesome that we have 4K, but who cares? And so,
well, it'd be one thing if you were making movies or something that would cry that, but you're not. So why bother,
Well, and, and it's funny too, because like, I think, and maybe you have the same opinion, but like, as technology's improved and screen displays have gotten better, the people making the most money with videos are doing so at lesser and lesser resolution. They're just like, they throw up these crappy YouTube videos that go viral that they shot with their mom's 1989 Nokia. And for some reason, it's the most popular video on the planet. Like it has 100% to do with the content and almost nothing to do with the quality of the content, like that, in terms of pixel count or whatever. Yeah. And so it's funny because you could sure get away with a lot less these days, when for the longest time the trend was more and more 1080.
Well, you look at like what they have on their phone now versus what they had. You used to have to go get the Canon digital camera, and now you can almost get the same resolution out of just a basic iPhone, and it's ridiculous what they have out there and what you can do with just a phone. So
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. Like I quite literally just 2 days ago got the new iPhone 13.
Gotta pull the trigger.
Well, I'm on their Apple iPhone upgrade program. And so I should have upgraded back in October or whenever my contract was up.
Yeah.
But honestly, I didn't care, right? It was just like, oh my God, it's just another camera upgrade. Who cares? I was fine with my phone. I had a 12 before. And it is cool, but it is a camera upgrade. And they did tell me, oh, well, the display is better quality and stuff like that. And my kids noticed. I didn't notice, but my kids were like, oh yeah, it's much smoother and stuff. Okay. And so I don't know. And ultimately, I probably at this point should have just held out and got a 14 when those drop.
Like next week.
Usually in October.
Yeah.
But so if they drop one of those at the end of the year or something, I won't quite be ready for an upgrade. But everything I'm hearing in the news about supply chain disruption and all that kind of stuff, even if they drop in October, I probably couldn't get my hands on one until January, February anyway. Yeah. And unless it's something totally new, which they, some people are saying it will be, only if it's something totally new will I care then. I mean, at some point we've kind of hit, at least with iPhones, there's sort of been like diminishing returns, right? I mean, the great camera is amazing, and it's got a feature in it it's called cinematic mode. And so like if you and I were sitting in front of the camera, for example, so I don't know, you and me are sitting in a room, we want to do a podcast together, while we're sitting in a room. So it will shift the focus based on whoever's speaking. And then blur out the other person, and it does it all automatically. So like while I'm talking, I'd be in focus, and then it would dip back out, or dip me out of focus and bring you into focus when you spoke. So it's kind of, I mean, it's cool, and it's, cool that it can do all that stuff. And, I guess it's got, crazy resolution and all that stuff, even though the guy at the Apple store just helped me downgrade all of it. Because like there's camera controls. And so we're using the more efficient formats and all that stuff, because otherwise it's massive files. A video file, shooting your kid in the backyard could be, 8 gigs or something. And then you filled up your phone with like 3 stupid videos.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know what version I have. It's probably 2 or 3 versions ago, and it seems to work just fine. And I haven't filled it up yet. So I'm impressed, because I've, done a lot of time lapse. I've done a lot of when I was landscaping, this is the phone I was using, and it's not full yet. So
yeah, well, that was the thing I discovered too. There's so many things in the cloud now, in terms of where they're storing your data and moving pictures off and all that kind of stuff.
I don't sync mine. Drives me nuts. I don't sync it.
Well, I didn't before I had my last phone, and I didn't even mean to on my last phone. I just did by accident. And but I found that it was pretty useful, really. And I only bought the 128 gig model, which is the smallest one at this point. And I never got anywhere near full. I got to like 50 or 60 gigs, and that was it. But like I stream all my music. I watch all my YouTube, videos on YouTube or whatever. I'm not downloading them.
Yeah.
I'm, photos and things like that, videos especially, are being backed up, because like every time I go to a concert, I spend most of the time looking through my phone instead of watching the concert, because I'm recording, different clips and stuff. And so
everyone else there.
Yeah. None of us are actually enjoying the show anymore.
Yeah.
And so we just I filled up my phone with that kind of stuff. And in the past, it would have just filled up the phone, but in this case, everything kind of gets offloaded, and I don't know, works pretty slick, especially because I actually never go back and watch those videos. So it's kind of stupid that I do it anyway. But there's something about, not missing the moment or something.
Yeah. No, I actually, I don't know if you saw or noticed, but I did lighting for St. Patty's Day, like open mic kind of thing at Station Square.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I busted out all that truss, and it was sitting in my yard.
Yeah.
I was, I needed to get all my gear ready for the summer, and I figured St. Patty's Day, I'm not going to work. I always take St. Patty's Day off, because I just, as a DJ, it's the worst day in the world.
Why? Because everybody thinks they're Irish and they act like assholes.
Dude, it's like you're flogging Molly Pandora Station. And if you play anything other than that, people get pissed off. And then if you don't play stuff other than that, people get pissed off. So I just take it off, because they've been drinking since noon. And by the time I get there, they're already really drunk, and they're all assholes. And it's a lose, lose, lose. So I would let someone else deal with that, and I don't need the money that bad. So
Right.
it's not
Yeah,
worth
no, I missed St. Patty's altogether because I was up in Oregon with my dad. And so I missed out on my green beer. I did not get my kilt out this year. I did nothing.
it.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, I feel like I missed out on that one. So,
So I ended
yeah,
up,
no, talk about your experience. Cause I did see, I think on Instagram maybe, or LinkedIn, someplace I saw some photos of the event you were working.
yeah, I mean, it was, I haven't done lighting for bands since I was in Phoenix. And so that was 2008, 2009. And
How old are we?
I know, right? I forgot how much I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So I think I'm going to pursue that a little more. I don't know if there's a way to make a good income doing that, but I essentially donated my time for that gig just because I wanted to A, do it, and B, just get all my gear ready. So it was kind of like an excuse to pull all the gear out and make sure it all worked. And it did. So that was good.
Yeah, that's a big dub.
But yeah, like just doing the lighting for the bands was a nice throwback. And we had a photographer there, and the pictures turned out amazing. And I remembered, exactly why bands always wanted to play on our shows, because they looked like rock stars. And so,
and no, it's funny. I think just not too long ago, I came across some of our old photos, and it's funny because every now and then I'll come across some of these and go down these memory lane, right? And it was the show in Phoenix that we did. It was the big one with Simplify, and it was sponsored by Budweiser, and it was like this whole thing. I think it was May 20th, even. I think I remember the day. Yeah. And but it was such a cool experience. And that was the thing, right? For all those bands that were playing, I mean, none of them were superstars, right? I mean, they were all up and coming, and some had varying degrees of fame in town or had done a couple things, but still ultimately kind of small bands. And that was exactly the thing. You always had the best sound and the best lights. And so these guys loved to play for you because they would, I mean, like you said, they look like rock stars. So it's amazing how just that can help, even if you're not the biggest band in the world, you can sure come off like one.
Yeah. I'll have to share some of the photos that the guys sent me, because we're in Station Square. And if I don't know if you've been in there, but it's essentially like a co-working building with offices and a big kind of like an open common area where you can get lunch and eat and kind of thing. And so we took that open common area and made it a concert venue for the night. And it it looks like you're in a full on marquee theater in Phoenix, and it's like, holy cow, I can't believe that these pictures turned out like that. It was just really neat. So
yeah, no, awesome. Well, it's funny how much like history that street that you're on has, for example, because I was thinking the other day too, I've almost gone full get off my yard guy. Uh-huh. I'm becoming older by the minute, and now every time I hear old bands, I'm busy professing to my kids, oh, I remember when I saw them and they were nobody, kind of thing. And just down the block, I think, from where you are is a place that used to be called the Roach Motel.
I remember that.
And it was right under the underpass there. It was a real dump then. I'm sure it's horrible now. And if it's even anything at this point. And I was talking to a guy, and he was talking about the band Seven Dust. And Seven Dust had played there forever ago and actually done a big graffiti mural on the back wall there. And it made me wonder if that was still up. But I was telling my kid, I was like, we heard a Incubus song come on the radio, and the first time I saw Incubus was there, and they were just nobodies. They're just kids, I mean, there's 35 people in the room, and so it was really cool. And they were amazing then. I'm not surprised they went on to be giants, and so it was really cool. But I don't think my kids are impressed with these old stories, but even just further down the block from there, I worked security for Violent Femmes. Insane Clown Posse ruined the brand new floor they had put in that there. I mean, like, there's all this like history, and this is just like little Pocatello, Idaho, right? But all those guys who went on to become somebody later all played Pocatello in the early days, and it all happened on that street, Pocatello.
So I was talking with someone the other day because I had done that gig, and they were like, "Man, you got to come and do some other stuff." I'm like, "Well, I'd love to. It'd be fun." I'm actually thinking about maybe doing some promotion kind of stuff again, see if we can get some bigger acts coming through. But he brought up, and this will take you back. He brought up Pocapalooza,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, remember that flyer you did?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
The
no, we've
orange
been
one?
involved. We were involved with Pokapalooza for 3 years, I think,
Yeah.
at least two. So
And
Pokapalooza, for anybody, well, of course, nobody knows. This was like a music festival thing that we put on over the university. And I didn't have anything to do with the promotion in terms of promoting the event itself, booking bands and stuff, but I did some flyers and things for the people that were doing that.
yeah, that was his first show he ever went to, was that Pokapalooza show.
Oh, how
And
funny.
he's huge in the scene now. So not like huge as like famous, but he just goes to every show and is
Yeah.
always at different venues and gigs and stuff. And that was his first concert, was Pokapalooza.
Oh, how
So I
funny.
thought that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, it's just awesome too. Well, and if you think about it, I mean, even like the way you and I came to know each other was through a concert venue in Pocatello. I was working with Cottonmouth Kings at the time, and you were doing saving the owner's butt because you had the lights and sound that he didn't to fill the rider. And so you ended up saving the day and making it so there was even a show to happen. And so, but we kind
Yeah.
of connected then. I mean, God, that was a million years ago at this point. But it's funny how, I don't know, sort of full circle, right? I mean, just, I'm now taking my kid to concerts and things like that. And, I've been to a couple of shows with bands he likes and things now. And so it's like, it's kind of cool how, like, the thing that was so important to us, especially, growing up and everything. And now it's kind of coming around full circle, and it's funny that you're looking at promotion again.
Yeah. I actually looked at bringing Tech Nine to town, and
Oh,
because he's huge here. Like, it's not necessarily my favorite artist, but it would do well here. And of course, I'm thinking, let's bring him to town. And I look at his tour schedule. He's coming to Idaho Falls, so it's like the exact time that I was trying to bring him. So, but I think it'd be cool to get some use out of my gear again, and actually maybe bring some mid-level talent back, just because you know it's kind of a market that people forget about, and I think it is a good intermedium, between
yeah.
Salt Lake or Boise or whatever. It's a good kind of like,
Yeah,
you know,
geographically, it's in a perfect location because it's 2.5 hours north of Pocatello or of Salt Lake and 3 hours east of Boise. So those are the two big markets. I mean, it's like perfectly situated between the two of them. Now, granted,
yeah,
you may not get the biggest acts in the world, although they've, had some big ones there. But but all these sort of like middle of the road acts, like,
yeah,
I mean, it's a good city to hit for that stuff. And Idaho Falls grabs a little bit of that traffic. But, it could be in Pocatello just as easily.
yep. So, uh, so
Well,
you've
no, that's
been,
funny too. Just thinking concerts. So for people who followed the show the last few years, there's always a mini Mo tour. So for
oh
people
yeah,
to catch people up, there's a Danish pop star named Mo that, well, but, but we call her Mo, that I just love. She's coming back to the States for the first time since like pre-pandemic. And so it's been, 2 or 3 years since I've done one of these little mini Mo tours, but this time we're going back east. And I've ended up cutting it down to just two shows. But, it's just in the spirit of all this music talk, and talking about just sort of, the importance of live music and how cool it is. Like, I mean, I'm going across the country and it's going to be, kind of an interesting trip. Like the last time I did this, it was in LA and San Diego. And where is it? One other city over there somewhere, Santa Ana. And so I took that tour, and at the time, my niece, who is the only other person in my family, was dying to go, but her parents wouldn't let her go. And now she's 19, and I invited her to come along with me, and so she's
nice.
really excited. So she and I are going to go out to New York and go to the New York show and the Boston show. And but I guess it's kind of like what you're saying, I mean, sharing the pictures from the concert the other night and just that feeling of live music and stuff, like it's something to share with people, I think. And I mean, my kids don't care about Mo, and they think she's stupid and they're tired of hearing it and all
That's
that
because you
stuff.
play her 10 times a day.
Right. Yeah, no, Spotify's number one guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, but my niece loves her and thinks she's great and wants to hear it. And so anyway, so we're gonna go do that, and that'll be a pretty fun thing. But it's just that sharing the live music thing, and I will do my level best to not be on my phone the whole time and this kind of thing. But it's just it's something we're really looking forward to. But it's just that whole spirit of live music is just it's the coolest thing. I think it's super valuable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this open mic that we do, it when I first started working at the co-working center, I saw that they had an open mic night on Thursdays, and I was like, oh, well, I'll go check that out. And I was shocked at the level of talent that's in Southeast Idaho. It's mind-boggling how many good musicians there are and how many talented people come out for this open mic. And so I was like, well, I'll help out with this. And the first, like, before I started the coding boot camp, I had got the office space to kind of just have a place to get out of the house when I was doing that boot camp. And I got it a few weeks beforehand. So I went to the first open mic. I'm like, dude, these guys are amazing. Let's do something. So I brought my PA out and I recorded, I did audio for him and I recorded the sets, and I used it as an opportunity to practice, to, A, practice recording, and B, do live audio, because mixing a band is a lot different than mixing, as a DJ. So DJ, I have two tracks, left and right. I throw a record on one, I throw a record on the other, and I blend the two. As a audio engineer for live music, so like for the St. Patty's thing, I had 2 drum sets. One had 6 mics, one had 5. We had 3 DIs for electric guitars and for acoustic guitars, 3 vocal mics, 1 wireless mic. So I was mixing like 25, 30 mics and keeping track of 30 channels and mixing them to where they sound good. You got compression on the vocals, you got this, you got reverb, you got panning left and right, and if you're doing a stereo track. So that it's a lot of stuff that, unless you do it consistently, you don't really get to practice it. So for me to get out there and set up the gear and actually do it, that's me getting my reps in, so that when I actually get paid to do it, I can do it and justify what I charge. And so just getting back in and doing audio for a band was like, dude, that it felt so good. It was just like, holy cow, like, why haven't I been doing this more, in COVID, obviously, but yeah, I don't know, for the last 10 years, I've been focusing as a DJ. And I think once, coding kind of takes off and I get a legit job doing that, DJing is going to kind of go on the, like, you can pay me a lot of money, I'll come and DJ, but I'm not going to do bar gigs. If I'm going to do a bar gig, it's going to be doing something for live music, because I think I enjoy that more at this point.
Well, and that'd be great too. I mean, because you've mentioned it dozens of times on this show, whenever we've talked to audio engineers or guys in the music business or whatever, that, one of the things that's given you most of charge in life is doing that stuff, recording live music and being a part of that whole thing. So it's cool that you had an opportunity to do it and that you're so equipped to do it. So this will be a little bit of nerd talk, but did you use that new rack-based mixer that you kind of drive by iPad now? Because you don't really have one with dials anymore, right?
Yeah, I sold my Midas just because we didn't have the studio anymore, and it takes up a large footprint in the trailer. And so
but the system you have now is basically a rack-based Midas, but it has a totally digital interface that you run through an iPad, right?
Yeah, so it uses the same interface, the same software that the Midas board uses, but it's made by Behringer. So Behringer and Midas are kind of owned by the same parent company. So they kind of, when that happened, they created this little rack mount unit that is essentially the same mixer, but you plug in a router to it, and you can walk around with your iPad and control everything with the iPad. And actually, after I did that first show for the venue, the owner of the venue came up to me. He's like, how much would it cost to get something like this permanently installed? And so we sat down and I ordered an X32 rack and everything to do a full sound system permanently installed in the venue. And last week was the first week that we did that, that we used the system that I installed for him. And it was really quite cool. I learned about some new technology that it's with the X32, they have an Ultranet out. And what that is it's Cat 5 that goes to like little controllers that if you're working in a studio or live band, you can have the musicians can actually control their in-ear monitors with their phone, and you just send them a feed through Cat5 cable. Well, when we went to order the equipment for the venue, the QSCs that I was going to install, they were on back order for like 4 or 5 months because of all the shipping issues. And Turbo Sound was in stock. And Turbo Sound is another great company that makes speakers, but they actually have alternate inputs on the speakers themselves. So I could literally install the entire sound system in this venue with Cat5 cable instead of running
old audio cables and things like that.
XLR and everything.
So bad.
And it's amazing because I mean, like, when you do a big system like that and you're running Cat or XLR cable, you essentially have to run the power from one base to all the speakers so that you don't have ground loops or anything like that. But when you use the Ultranet, when you use the Cat5, that eliminates that. So you can have independent power sources and you're not going to have ground loops, which is pretty, I mean, it's like really cool technology. And I'm glad that I did that because, you know, if I ever do more installs for venues, you know, it's nice to know that that's an option because
especially like in a small club or something like that, where it would be much easier to just plug a speaker into the wall wherever it sits, instead of having to, you know, run an extension cord or run everything back to a sound booth or something. Yeah, no, that's huge. That's a game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, and it's really neat too because they had the rack mount unit that I got for them is literally stored in a closet. And then we've got a digital stage box, which is Cat5 as well, that you plug into the wall. You sit it next to where the band's playing, and then they just plug their mics in and they're ready to perform. Like you have a little iPad, you have the stage box, they plug their mics in and we're done. So the setup time went from like hauling a bunch of speakers out, setting everything up to 5 minutes.
And even though XLR has been the standard for a million years, I mean, those cables are like kind of delicate. It seems like there's always a problem. There's a pin breaking, or there's a short in the cord, or, you know, because I'm not the only person who's been yelled at by you for, you know, coiling a cord too tight, or, you know, that kind of thing, because they're just, you know, they break and they're expensive and that kind of thing. And so, so something like this, that's a little more durable, like a Cat5 cable is an interesting approach, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, so it's like the XLR is not going away. I mean, all the microphones are still, you're plugged in with XLR going to the stage box, but it's just really neat that the Cat5 options out there because it's pretty slick for an install. I don't know that I would, I mean, because yes, I could buy these Turbo Sounds and use Cat5 to set up for events and gigs, but I actually think the XLR is more durable in regards to a mobile application, just because, you know, if you have a Cat5 cable and something goes wrong with the end or whatever, it could shut you down. So I have, you know, 100 XLR cables. I always have a backup. So yeah. Anyways, what's next?
No, sorry for everybody who's not an audio nerd, but as you can tell, that's something that, you know, we're passionate about, and obviously spend a lot of time doing or have done over the years. And so, no, that's pretty exciting that you're getting back into it, though. It's super cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, right before COVID hit, I bought that light roof, the trussing that I had down in Phoenix. When I left, I sold that and gave it back to LJ for the most part. But 3 years ago, right before COVID, I bought all the truss to do that again, and I haven't had a chance to use it. So essentially, that gig was my chance and opportunity to set it up, and I want to put the whole roof to use. And I'm trying to do I think I want to do like a hip hop appreciation night in Pocatello and get the guys from Salt Lake at the Herc to come in and do like a breakdancing battle, and get some like graffiti artists to do like some murals and stuff like that. And just even if it just breaks even, you know, where I can pay the guys gas money to come out and do it, I think it would be fun to A, do a show again, and B, introduce the actual hip hop culture to Pocatello. Maybe do, like their battle, and then have them come in and hang out at Center Street and do set up a legit dance floor and have like some break battles going on at Center Street. I think that would just blow their mind, and I think it'd be really cool to do. So
Yeah, no, it
hopefully
could
we
be
can make it
awesome.
work.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, I have been a young kid in Pocatello, Idaho, and I know that, I mean, I always crack the joke now that when I lived in Pocatello, I was in Salt Lake every weekend for concerts and things like that. And since living in Salt Lake now, I never go to concerts. I never do. And so it's kind of funny that, now I still travel. I'm going to New York to watch Mo perform. I go to California to watch her perform. I do whatever. I hardly go to anything here. And obviously there's, great music scene here and lots going on. But as a kid in Pocatello, I mean, and you can relate to some of this too. I mean, you weren't born and raised there, but you spent enough time there as a young person that, I mean, there's just kind of nothing going on. There's like this rogue set of, vagabonds, 8 or 10 people who are trying to do something and have a little bit of a music scene or whatever in Pocatello. But like, that's kind of it. Like, so, I mean, it takes people to do that. And I think something like hip hop culture specifically, because you have the artistic components, the visually artistic components, you have the dance components, you have the musical components. I mean, when I was again, a kid in Pocatello, I mean, I would come down to Utah and I would come back with my, it was pre-DVDs, my VHS tapes of youth breakdancing and playing music and graffiti artists and graffiti magazines and whatever I could find that was sort of that culture, because it just doesn't exist in Pocatello.
Yeah.
And, there's probably a couple young guys that are out there throwing up tags on walls and stuff, but I mean, like the actual culture isn't really being showcased there.
I think there's a shop here in town called Sixes that's they're muralists, and so they get hired to go to like Portland or wherever to do these big murals, but they're based out of Pocatello, and they've got a little shop here in town that's pretty cool. So I would like to connect with them and have them be a part of it as well. They actually do a show every year called Mural Fest, and I was trying to get involved with that to just bring the guys from the Herc out and have the b-boy battle at the same time and bring some outside mural talent. But I think that, so like hip hop kind of gets a bad rep in some of these smaller communities because they don't understand what it's about. They don't understand the culture behind it. They don't understand the family aspect of what hip hop is. And so that's kind of why I want to bring it out, is I think Pocatello could use a little eye opening to the actual culture and the scene and what it's all about, and get that bad taste out of their mouth. Because there's still, the other day, like I had some guy come up to the booth and say, "You're playing this black music that's going to get the place shot up." And that to me is unacceptable. Like that really bothered me. And that kind of stuff needs to stop. And I would like to see it stop. And I would like to see people be more accepting and open to change and open to, different cultures. And it's mind boggling to me that still exists.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, of course you can't, smack the ignorant out of him, but but at the same time, yeah, it just sucks that there's people like that, who that even crosses their mind. Right. I was popular music. Everybody's dancing to the popular music. What do you want? This is what the American culture is listening to, at large. So to even try and put some kind of racial spin on it like that is kind of gross.
Let alone verbalize it out loud to the guy that's playing the music.
Well, yeah, that's the worst part. This is what I don't get with racists. Either, okay, whatever. Think what you're going to think, but don't say it out loud, man. That's where it just goes into this whole new territory where now I have to judge you. Now I'm burning calories thinking about what you said and all that kind of stuff. And so it's frustrating. So, and I think you see, obviously you see that kind of stuff in every city, but there's a contingent of people that are of a certain age that I think that's still kind of where they're at.
Yeah. Well, enough of that. You started a new YouTube channel. You want to tell us a little bit about that and what you're doing?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it at some point on this show. This idea of creating sort of a personal finance channel. Obviously through this show, we've had great access to a lot of, smart financial people. We've also complained ad nauseum on the show about our personal finances and about old age and about all the other things. And, and I'm at that age where I had to start thinking about some finances and start thinking about saving and start thinking about all these things that I've never really prioritized in my life. And here at the ripe old age of 42, seems like a good time to get started. And so, so the purpose of the show, colloquially, for fun, I call it Nest Egg, which is basically, obviously derivative of this show. On YouTube, it's just under my name at this time because I didn't want to go fully fledged and figure out a whole brand strategy and all this stuff. So right now it's just under my name.
I don't know. Your artwork is a fully branded artwork there.
Well, I'm not gonna, half-ass it entirely, but to create a whole new thing was going to be a thing. So anyway, so I went the easy route, used a bunch of stuff I already had. And so I created this show, and basically what it is a focus on personal finance. And it's basically, I guess, sort of going through the journey that I'm going through presently to try and get better with personal finance. And so, I am learning about investing. I'm learning about, stocks and cryptos and every living thing under the sun as far as how to set aside money. And I'm doing it from the perspective of self-employed people, not unlike me and Mike. And also as an older person, somebody who's in their 40s and trying to get started saving, kind of late to the game, because for the traditional, W-2 person who goes to college, gets a job out of college, they start putting into a 401k pretty young. They start, IRAs and things like that as they go because they're smart and they're smarter than I was. And, and then, time goes by and they've compounded some money and they've got a little nest egg to sit on. And for me, I don't have any of that. I have one ancient 401k that's worth about 10 grand, and that's as good as it gets. And, that's the byproduct of 20 years of self-employment, basically. And, there's a big chunk of those 20 years where I was living check to check and trying to figure out how to make do and, taking every dollar I had. And that was, enough to cover our living, but it wasn't enough to set anything aside. Or if I did have a good year, I'd develop a shoe habit or something else and blow every extra dollar. And, just wildly irresponsible. But anyway, so the purpose of this show is to sort of fix some of that or, and start doing the learning and basically just learning in public, right? I mean, sort of what we do here on this channel, we talk to a lot of people, CEOs and startup founders and all these kinds of people. And the whole point is learn and grow and do it publicly, right? I mean, we're having the conversations with these CEOs because not everybody gets these conversations. And so a big part of it is, help people learn to be better leaders by having these conversations with leaders. Mm-hmm. And so this new YouTube show is sort of an extension of that, just with a hyper focus on personal finance. And it's just, like I say, it's my journey. It's what I'm working through right now. And so it's sort of happening in real time. And I will probably make plenty of mistakes and all that kind of stuff on there because I'm just, reading like crazy and trying to articulate whatever I've read, or I'm trying to, watch content by other providers and see if I can sort of put my own spin on it and that kind of thing. And, and I think so far it's going okay. It started off with a bang and it slowed down a little bit, but I think, ultimately it'll be good. And if nothing else, it'll be good for me. So.
Well, good.
Yeah. So kind of a fun thing. So, but I think it's a natural extension or a dovetail to this show, but it would be like us having personal finance guys every week. And, I think our guests might get bored if we did that. So.
Well, it's definitely a good topic to learn. I'm guilty of not knowing enough about that as well. I'm actually guilty of, buying a lot of speakers and not, if that was good investment advice, I'd be doing it right, but it's definitely not. And, Oh,
no, I mean, you and me are cut from the same cloth, man. We've always been the guys who are willing to give for free. We were always the guys that were willing to do things just because we loved them. We are the guys that would take every dollar we had and put it into the stuff that, we thought was cool or might move the needle or even allow us to do a better job at the free thing. Yeah. And, and it's just, I don't know, it's a personality trait. And ultimately, I think it's a good thing, right? I mean, I think that to be charitable and to be giving and to be interested and excited about things, I think is valuable and important. And so I wouldn't change my journey. There's just sort of a real like practical bit of it that I'm getting older. I don't like standing behind the computer 14, 16 hours a day anymore. My eyes are growing dark and old, and
dude,
I need
I'm gonna give you this little tip right here.
Oh, baby, look at that.
The blue blockers, man. That is the way to go. Like I don't like wearing glasses, but
you look so damn handsome in them.
When I'm coding, when I'm behind a computer for 8 hours a day or more, the blue blockers are legit. They do the trick. And so if you're spending a bunch of time on a computer, I highly recommend you getting them. So I don't, as a kid, we probably just didn't notice it, but I do now. I get headaches and I have a hard time getting to sleep, and these help a lot. So
no, I'll have to give them a try. I bought some once because I thought they were cool looking, that were supposed to be like Tony Stark glasses or something that were supposed to block blue light, but I don't even know where they are at this point, but I'll have to get some sexy ones like what you've got.
Yeah, but they're like $30, but I bought 2 pairs, one for here and one for at the office.
Yeah, those look better than those gas station ones though. Those, I mean, if you didn't know better, I'd think those were like fashion glasses, So anyway, but yeah, so for anybody who's interested in checking out the other show, the Nest Egg show, it's just rogha.ar/YT will take you there. So Roghaar/YT. And you can check out the show over there and let me know what you think. Obviously we refer to the Eggs show a lot and everything, because I mean, this is the star. So this is where we spend a lot of our time. But if you're interested in personal finance topics specifically, I mean, we do talk about that a lot over there. So, or exclusively over there, I should say. So, So anyway, that's kind of it. So, and, not to put too abrupt a end on this, but we probably ought to wrap it up, if only for the reason that, and a little, behind the veil, we have another show in an hour and I've got to recharge all my lights. So, we better do that.
I'll see how it is.
Yeah, I know. Right. So anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here, Mikey?
Nah, just doing my thing. Anyone hiring a web developer, hit me up.
Yeah, remote jobs, ton of money, huge feature package, right? Or a benefit package. That's what we're looking for. So, So anyway, cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning into this show and every show, and I guess see you guys next time.